Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 202 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Tommy Swerdlow. He's an actor, writer. He's acted in movies like Howard Duck, Hamburger Hill, Spaceballs, Child's Play, and he's written for films like Cool Runnings. What?
Real genius.
Real Genius with Val Kilmer. And he's been a writer on movies like Cool Runnings, Little Giants, The Grinch. Did a Puss in Boots movie recently. Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to dive into his career and talk about a little bit of everything. So happy to have Tommy on. How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I have no complaints.
So what's your interest in all this stuff? Are you a writer or an actor or something? Or what?
No, I just have an interest in the behind the scenes of films that I really enjoy. I like getting actors and writers or people on and talking about how the movies were made, what happened, how did you do this scene, and
What movie, which of those movies do you like?
Hamburger Hill. I really like that movie. I like the Grinch, Cool Runnings. Um, my wife is a huge, huge Grinch. We've got so much Grinch crap in our house at Christmas time. She is just a ginormous Grinch fan. Um, but yeah, Cool Runnings. I mean, I remember watching that as a kid. My parents showing me Cool Runnings, and I've always been interested in war movies. So I've watched all the classic war movies and
Good one.
yeah, no, so I guess that's my interest in everything.
Gotcha.
So, how did you get into the film biz, show biz, acting? I mean, did you do like school play when you were a kid and say, "Oh, I really like this. I'm gonna take off with it," or
I did I do it as a kid? Yeah, I was a little bit. I wasn't like a crazy actor kid for sure. I was a more of a troublemaker, but I always was. My family was artistic and political, and it was something I could always do. And I always was sort of a class clown a little bit. I just had a lot of personality, and people noticed me. And then when I was one time at summer camp, I did a couple of plays, and it was easy, and I wrote my own material. And then in high school, I mostly just was a pothead and an athlete, but the last year, my senior year, I did a couple of plays, and even though I was always a writer, kind of more naturally. Even I decided to be an actor because writing seemed hard. I have learning disabilities. I'm dyslexic, and writing didn't. It seemed difficult. I could write poems, but it didn't seem like that was a career or anything. And I wasn't going to go to college because I'd already moved out of my house when I was younger. So I got into this acting class when I was 18 and 19, and then 19 and 20. Seriously, a 2 year program. And then my acting teacher hooked me up with a manager, and I came to Los Angeles from New York City on my 21st birthday and called myself an actor and started getting acting parts.
when you first took that acting class, did you think it would become your whole life?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know some people they start and they're like, I just feeling things out. I have no idea what I want to do, and they don't really have a plan. And then they realize like, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and then they kind of keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it was that, and it was also like I didn't. I went to a high school where I didn't really have to go to high school. I went to high school with Matthew Broderick, who got very successful very quickly. He's a good friend of mine. We went to high school together, and a writer. So he made it clear that you could be an actor and be successful at it very, very quickly. And yeah, I took it seriously. I also took it seriously to kind of because it was something I could do. I didn't go to class. I went to a progressive school. I didn't even go to class, but I graduated. So it seemed doable. I wasn't going to go to college, and I regret that now a little bit, but it was something I could do, I thought. It was something that without too much trouble. I mean, it would be hard to become a working actor, but it made sense. Didn't freak
Right,
me out. Didn't
right.
freak me
Matthew Broderick, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
out. He got a bunch of parts right out of high
Yeah.
school. Yeah. Right.
He was a War Games too. Did he do War Games?
Yeah, he did War Games, and he had a part before that. So yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
it was he was quickly, so we all were from New York City, and we thought we could do whatever the hell we wanted, and we could. Turns
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had a pretty good string of movies there in the 80s too. Um,
I had movies, and I got leads in movies that fell through. I got, yeah, I could have stayed with it. I got a little bit. The writer in me started to come out. I started writing a lot of poetry, and I had a drug problem that I wrote all the movies I wrote, the early ones, all fucked up on drugs. Um, so that kind of derailed it, which I have some regrets about. But yeah, I was successful at it, and I didn't realize, I would probably, because of the kind of person I am, get grow into it even more. It's you're dumb when you're a kid when you're 24,
yeah.
25. And then on Hamburger Hill, I actually wrote a novel about like a war journal the whole time, and was writing the whole time on the bus to location and back on the coaster on this van we were on. And I really sort of became a writer then. So I could have done both, but things didn't work out that way. Although I act, I'm about to do it again. You didn't mention I made a movie I directed and co-wrote and co-star in, that's on Amazon Prime, called A Thousand Junkies.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm getting back into the acting after all this time.
Yeah. Is that movie, is it supposed to be kind of about your life and like the drug
Yeah,
struggles in a little bit or
yeah, it's a kind of reimagining of it. I did it mostly with my ex-wife, but this is with me and two other guys, one of whom was a child star and unfortunately passed away after the movie of an overdose. And we were clean when we started. But yeah, it is. It's a movie, a drug movie that has no drugs in it. We just drive around desperately looking for it, kind of like the Little Rascals if they were heroin addicts.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Hamburger Hill, so let's use that as a segue into that. I mean, a movie that at the time none of the guys were big stars, but now they've grown to be big stars, like Dylan McDermott, Don Cheadle, guys that have had amazing careers, but they were young, and I mean, everyone, you guys were all young actors. Really good movie. You played Private Martin, was it Beanstalk? 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 So you guys shot in the Philippines, right?
Yes,
Was it, in like the scenes where you're in port on drenched rain, was that actual Philippine rain, or did they like set it up to make you guys get all wet? Or like, I mean, like, is it legit when you guys are in the mud and all that crap?
I don't even remember. I think we probably had rain effects. It rained all the time. It was intense, man. That was an intense shoot. A lot of wild stuff happened. Yes, those guys, no one was famous. We went to Subic Bay, naval base to train. We still have a group text, a lot of the guys. It's a very tight bunch of people. Like I must say, 40 years later, it's literally 40 years, and people still care about each other. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah. So how long was that military training? I mean, was that
I
pretty
was,
intense? I mean, they
no, it wasn't intense, but it was bonding for us. You know what I mean? Much more
right.
than it was physically intense. We were in the barracks, whatever, before we got to hotel rooms in Manila. The shoot was intense. Early on, one of the electricians was electrocuted and killed, and that was really intense and blew everyone's mind. And a lot of shit happened. It was a real serious, immersion into another world. It wasn't Vietnam, but it was something. You know what I mean? And it was a key for me because I did all this writing, and I was very close with Don Cheadle and Courtney, and then Steven Weber, who I know from that, was in the Junkie movie, played a part in my movie I made. So him, I'm still kind of close to, and yeah, it was something, and it was I mean, it's interesting. It came out right when Platoon did and Full Metal Jacket, and it's much more sort of, not want to say pro-military, but soldier sympathetic. Nobody's nuts. Nobody's all fucked up, and
Right.
it was written by a guy who was a vet. It was incredible looking. The DP, John Irvin was a good director, and the DP ended up being a director, a guy named Peter McDonald, who just it was incredible. They would burn auto tires to get that black smoke, hundreds a day. You'd come back covered in black filth, get in the bathtub, and there would be like an inch of black in the bottom of the tub after every day. It was fucking crazy, man.
That
Shit you
is
could never
crazy.
do. Like they wouldn't let you do that in a million years. Like, just burning down mountains and burning tires and just laying waste to shit, man.
Yeah. I totally agree, though. You said kind of like there's no crazy. It's just more of a soldier story, right? Like Platoon. I mean, they got the whole Elias versus Barnes, and they're nuts, and they leave him behind, and there's this whole shit
Stone,
story.
a writer, he writes
Right,
about stuff. This was a love letter to a guy who had been a vet and felt vets had gotten a raw deal. It was only 10 years since the war had ended. I mean, it's amazing how long ago that is. I mean,
right.
it's fucking crazy. It's
And
40
it's
years.
crazy that you guys have all stayed connected.
Yeah, they'll get on a group text, we'll get on there and there's the guys still, there's still great affection.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a great film for anyone who hasn't seen it, especially if you've seen those other films. You'll definitely enjoy it for sure. So we mentioned Child's Play, first of the Chucky movies. They made plenty of those. They're probably on what, 7 or 8 now, TV shows, the whole works.
Remember they did a documentary about it all recently and they asked me to come and talk about it. It was I went in for the lead, and I was too young and the director really liked me, so he gave me that part. And it was in
Yeah.
Chicago, some in Chicago, some in LA. And it's the last thing I ever did. After that I just was like, this is just dumb shit. I mean, acting is kind of weird, but I mean, so I was 26. It was fun.
Was Chucky animatronic? Like the puppeteers controlling it? How did they do?
Oh, the great thing I love to always tell is that the same guy who stabbed me through the earring in Howard the Duck was in the Chucky suit too, choking me. It was Ed. So yeah, he was animatronic at one point, and then the one I like, the one who chokes me at the end, I think, is animatronic for the famous scene. And
Yeah.
then he was also a doll and a guy in the thing.
Okay. When it wasn't a guy, was it creepy having that little doll running around?
I didn't find the whole thing particularly creepy. I wasn't there that much. It's I don't know. Yeah, no, I didn't find it that creepy. I had a good time.
They're pretty cheesy. Most of those 80s horror movies. I mean, they're kind of
Oh,
cheesy.
that one really hit a nerve. It's funny, like I haven't been in that many movies, but so much of the shit I was in, like Howard the Duck was hated. It's a cult classic now. Real Genius, people fucking love. Spaceballs, which my brother produced, is epic to people, and like Hamburger Hill is like the least of it. You know what I mean? It's like I
Right.
had these little parts in these, and then Cool Runnings, which is like out of control. How much people love that movie. That I'm proudest. That's sort of my because I
Yeah.
really that's like the other movies I worked on. I have a couple of scenes in Little Giants. Grinch, I wrote a great deal of. Puss in Boots, I did a lot of the story. There's not that much of my dialogue in it, but Cool Runnings really was that's my whole like what it's about. I feel a great ownership of that script.
Yeah.
Of that
Well, before we get to Cool Runnings and writing, I mean, you touched on Spaceballs. I mean, Mel Brooks. What was it like just to be a part of that for a little bit? Mel Brooks film and
brother worked on a few with Mel. So my brother who passed away was really tight with Mel. Also, I was in a play with Bill Pullman, and my brother was kind of a little bit responsible for getting, who's a dear friend of mine, for getting Bill involved in that. And so, I wasn't that tight with Mel. I knew him. I came back from Hamburger Hill, and they gave me a day on one line, but it's a funny line. And Rick Moranis, I knew, who became real good friends with my brother, who I knew before Ezra because I did a movie called The Wildlife, which was the sequel to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And Rick was in it, one of his first things after coming down from SCTV.
I saw I couldn't find that anywhere like to watch on stream it or
Chris Penn was in it, Sean's brother, and he got an
yeah.
incredible shape. Like the one time in his life, he wasn't just nuts and he was ripped. And yeah, it's interesting you can't find that movie. I don't think it was very good.
Yeah, it's hard to find some of those films. I mean, they get tied up in who's got the rights to them, and it could be a big mess.
So Spaceballs was fun. Child's Play, yeah. I mean, I would audition against everybody with Downey Jr. and Tim Robbins. I mean, I got leads in movies where they tried to put every star with me, and the movie would fall through. It was almost like God was saying, "This isn't meant to be." It literally happened that the
Yeah,
movie went through, but whatever. That's the way it went.
right. Well, then you got into I mean, what was the final like switch? I'm gonna switch to writing now.
Good question. I think I wrote a play. And what happened was this. I had a theater company as an actor with a bunch of people, with Bill Pullman and Gina Gershon and my ex-wife Laura Harrington, who was an actress and was a writer, and a few other people. And when we were going to do our first production, I got Hamburger Hill and went away to the Philippines. We had this whole theater company style of acting we did. And when I came back, I ended up separating from my first wife, and I wrote a play, a two-character play for me and a friend of mine who I saw last night to do. And he had a friend who was a director he knew from college who came in and read the play and said, "It's a good play. You should make it a real play." And he ended up being my writing partner, who I wrote all those movies with. He wasn't really a writer, but he would do the notes and sort of direct the script almost. And I would write because I was a natural poet and writer. And so I wrote that play. And then I got an idea for a movie, an original movie about my family, kind of. And my brother somehow got me some money to do it. A guy optioned it as if it had already been written. And and then we got an agent from it, a big agency, and then we got a couple of jobs, and then Cool Runnings, and then we were off and running. It was just the way it went. I just was
Yeah,
I was a natural. I'm just a natural. I'm a natural writer. I'm not. I didn't go to school for it or whatever. But between the acting and what I understood about that and the sort of natural way I had with words, I was able to do it. And with his
yeah,
help, because he had a great sense for story, which is really what's difficult about screenwriting. Everybody can write dialogue and all kinds of. Everyone thinks it's about dialogue, and there's nothing to do with that. It's all about story. What's the story?
right. Well,
You
let's talk Cool Runnings now. You mentioned that that's one of your proudest achievements, the Jamaican bobsled team.
Everyone knows and loves. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh, it's a great movie. It's a great story.
love that movie.
So how did you get on that movie?
I simply went in, talked to them. I had gotten another job. I met the person I work for now, who is the executive producer, who's the biggest maybe producer going, who invented the Minions and Despicable Me and Mario. That's where I work now with him, Chris Meledandri. And I worked on it for 2 years. We just got the gig, and the biggest thing I did was called Blue Maga. I changed the title to Cool Runnings because and my brother had been to Jamaica and told me that. I remembered that phrase, which meant like, be happy, cool man, see you, cool runnings, have a good time. Peace be the journey, I guess is what it says in the movie. But so it was just I didn't know anything. It was an early job. I was 29 or 20, yeah, 28 or 29, just writing from my heart, not really experienced. We worked on it for years, or maybe 2 years, wrote tons of pages, and had a great producer who believed in me creatively and stuck with things I really, it's got a lot of kind of soul, that movie, and they would never let me do it today. It would have to be. I don't know if they'd let a black guy do it. They'd get Jamaicans. They wouldn't even let an African American make. That's how the world has changed. But back
Right.
then, white Jewish guys could write a bunch of Jamaicans. I
Did
don't
you have
know.
pretty free range, like when you're doing a film, or I mean, like you can kind of write what you want, or
No, you don't really. I mean, free reign is not when you're working for people. Yes, you have it to an extent, and then they have notes. So you have free reign to sort of, break ground, and then they'll get involved in the interior decorating. You can build a room, but how you furnish it, they'll decide. Or if they don't like the room, they'll tell you to rebuild it. So you get used to taking people's notes, and I took notes from my partner, so that was easy for me. I've never been, sometimes I can be a little fussy, but not really. I'm not usually that fussy. I'm not.
Once you've written it, do you go on set at all as the writer? I mean, did you get to meet any of the actors, John Candy or any of them, or
There. I have a real intense story about him calling us to his hotel room at night. A thing I do is I write this. If anyone's actually watching this, I write a Substack, a piece of a weekly writing blog I do that's called Feel the Rhythm, like Cool Runnings. And I have a great on there. I have a great story about John Candy. So I met him, but I met him in rehearsals. I wasn't there for much of the shooting. I went to Jamaica to look for locations once, and I went to Canada for rehearsals right before they started. But I didn't. I wasn't on the set much.
yeah? Do you have a specific process when it comes to writing that you follow every time you're going to write, or is it different depending on the project?
How do I answer that? At this point, I've been doing it so long that I don't really outline. I mean, I will outline sometimes if an outline's needed. I don't have a specific process. I know what interests me. I mean, it could be specific if the job I got hired to do. I mean, I haven't worked anywhere else but at Illumination for since 2017. That process can go a little differently. Sometimes I'll come in for a rewrite. Sometimes I'll start an original. But basically, no, I don't. It's not. Yes, I do have a process, but it's very peculiar to me. And in the end, you can do it any way you want. You can outline, you can whatever, but eventually you just have to start making pages and hope that your story makes sense. I mean, there's no way around writing. You know what I mean? In the end,
Right,
are you funny? Is it interesting? Do you have good characters? And do you have a story? Like are you is the thing feel like a movie? Are you reading it going, oh, it matters. This means something, or is it dead? That's the
right,
biggest issue because
right.
it can go dead very quickly.
Yeah. Do you get have you struggled with writer's block ever if you're going and all of a sudden you kind of hit a wall or
I never have writer's block. What I have is I don't understand what it's about right now, and I can't write until I do. I don't
yeah,
really get writer's block like I psych myself out or I'm completely done. I'm not like that. I can make words. I mean, if I would be lying, writer's. I don't know what writer's block is. I'm sure it's real, but I do get stopped by not understanding what the hell the thing's about.
right.
Well,
Yeah.
you need to
Yeah.
understand.
Right, exactly. And it's got to sound good, right? You don't want to just write complete garbage, otherwise nobody's going to be interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever write complete garbage, but you can write good stuff that doesn't belong in the movie. And
Oh yeah.
so,
Yeah, that makes sense.
the movie is important, and that it's there's this emotional logic to it. It's different too. Like the commercial movies have a little bit of a different. You sort of owe a different debt to them. They operate a different way. Where like a Charlie Kaufman. He completely has a story, but he understands. You got if you have control of the voice in the universe, you can do anything. It's when you lose control and you don't get what you're up to that you run into trouble.
Right. Right. Well, let's talk about the Grinch a little bit. You mentioned that, that's I really liked the the version that the 2018 version that came out, the Illumination. When obviously when a movie like that's coming out, everyone I feel like people get kind of worried. Oh, they're making another Grinch. Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna hold up against the other ones? And I think it did because it follows the same storyline, but it's got a new story in there too, and I really enjoyed it.
I was I had just made the drug movie A Thousand Junkies. I hadn't My career was in the toilet. I had fucked it all up. I'd been a heroin addict and gotten clean like 6 years ago or 5 years ago, and it had been ruined my career. No one wanted to hire me. Chris calls me up and says, "Can you write me a little bit of rhyming narration for the opening?" You know what I mean? I had even screwed things up with him, and he's a close friend of mine. And so I wrote him a couple of lines of rhyming narration for the opening. And then he said, "These are good." And then he showed me the movie and I watched it. They'd had 20 writers, they were in trouble. And I can do Dr. Seuss. He's my first poet I ever had. and I can write rhyming those couplets like him forever. I wrote a really good version of "Oh, the Places You'll Go," which they're actually making into a movie now, but I wrote one way back in the day, and I can really do Dr. Seuss. And I got the gig, and I wrote that middle section about him being an orphan in the right away. And then I right up until the end, I was doing the my own voicing of this thing too, and they replaced me with Pharrell right at the end. And I wrote it, and then I've been working there ever since. But yeah, that was a special thing. I just have a gift for imitating Dr. Seuss, and I love him, and I'm a rhymer, and I can do it, and that was very special because I it got me back into the game and back working with my pal, and it was it was a perfect storm because they were in trouble and needed help, and it was help I was able to give and
Yeah,
was you qualified to give. So it was kind of a great thing.
that's awesome. There's a lot of funny moments in it too. I love his
Yeah,
little friend. Um, the one that was it Keenan Thompson who does the voice for his little friend. The Grinch, he's my best friend. There's a lot of little comedic moments in there that lighten the film up and I like the story. It dives into Cindy Lou's life a little bit more than you ever got in the original and even in the Jim Carrey one. They've all got their own flavor. They all have their own flavor, and I think that's good. They're not one is exactly copying the other. I mean, the original is my favorite. I love the classic.
of course.
My wife's a big Jim Carrey, and she loves the Jim Carrey one. Um, but yeah, they're all good in their own right for different reasons. And I really liked in the like some of the voices. I thought it was they had Angela Lansbury's voice in the Illuminate. I thought that was a awesome little cameo that she had, and I was actually when it first came out, I had no clue that it was Benedict Cumberbatch who was the Grinch because he sounds so much different than like when he's Doctor Strange or something. Yeah. So what are you working on currently? You said you're still at Illumination.
Yeah,
So
I just work on projects there. Sometimes like a Sing project or another one they have going. That they don't like to talk about it too much, but I'm just keep busy over there.
yeah. Do you work from home? Do you have to go into an office or
I'm where I'm sitting right now.
yeah, kind of
They
at your
just
own pace or
they do their animating in France, so I was just in Paris working for a little bit, which was fun. But basically, I sit here in this chair and I make up nonsense.
well, it's nonsense that people love, right?
People love nonsense.
Right. So you said your friend is the one that kind of created the whole Illumination and Minions and Despicable Me and all that?
It's his empire, yes, Chris
Yeah.
Melodon. So
Yeah, that is I mean, it really took off the first Despicable Me movie, and he
he's
found something that people liked.
he sure has, man. Like nobody's
Yeah.
business.
Well, looking back on your whole career, is there a favorite thing you've done? I mean, you mentioned Cool Writings. Is
I
that
like
the?
well, I love the junkie movie I made. It's a little cult classic. Addicts love it, and everyone who sees it really loves it. So between that and Cool Runnings, those are my far my two favorite things I've done. I wrote a novel I like called Straight Dope that was published that not a lot of people have read, but I'm pretty proud of. But yes, I would say A Thousand Junkies and Cool Runnings are my two favorite things because they have the most of me in them. They're really
Yeah, yeah. Do you
Cool
think it
Runnings
was?
shocking. Like I just saw this thing where it was voted like the most heartwarming movie of all time. I mean, the love for Cool Runnings always startles me. People adore that movie. It's 30 years ago, and people still every time the bobsled team comes on. I mean, love it. It's incredible. It's an incredible touchstone of positivity. It shocks me. Really something.
And it really shows when you're doing a film, you really don't know what the impact it's going to have. You have no idea.
No idea. First thing I ever did. First one I ever got made, and by far dwarfs all the others. So it's
Yeah. What you've gone through a lot in your life. You mentioned the drug addiction. You've acted. You've written. What would be your life advice? You know, if you had to pass on a piece of advice to people, what would it be?
Um, it would be take what you do seriously. Try to take yourself not so seriously, though the truth is people take themselves seriously are assholes, but they are often successful. And most of all, for me, I mean, my advice is to, for what matters to me is find out what it is you have a unique qualification to do and do it. You know what I mean? And I mean that's it for me. And also to remember that life is long, and that you know find your purpose. Without life without a purpose is rough. You know what I mean? So it's nice. People who are blessed with believing they have a purpose are very lucky because to simply show up for some gig and rent your time to people and go through without feeling you're here for some reason always bothers me. So I feel lucky that I feel like, oh, I'm a writer. I have a way of expressing myself that people seem to impacts people. I feel good when I do it. So I say be open to your heart and be open to your inner life and what matters to you, whatever it is, cooking, loving your kids, and find meaning. And don't be scared to find meaning and open your heart. You got to open your heart to be alive in a meaningful way.
Yeah, well, that's great advice. Great advice. And yeah, as a writer and an actor, I mean, you have such an impact on people. It's really incredible. I mean, most people, musicians, actors, write the movies and the TV shows and the music that we love, that can take us out of the darkest places sometimes. If we're in the lowest of lows and you flip on an episode of your favorite TV show, your favorite movie, or your favorite song, that right there might do it.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah, really incredible.
I see that. I mean, people do. It's real. I mean, I used to have not so much respect for commercial entertainment, or I like things that are a little more niche and artistic. But these movies, especially kids, like it's mind blowing. How much this stuff can mean to kids, and it's it's worthwhile. It's valuable.
Even adults, there's so many adults that love Minions, and it gives them a for sure. Well, Tommy, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing a
All
little
right,
bit of insight into some of the stuff you've worked on.
got it, brother. It was nice meeting you, man.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.